Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to askNK. So, it's an interesting day to be alive as owners of Affinity have now done something that is pretty impressive. Now, the last time we talked about this tool, we did mention that they were definitely going to make it totally free, but we also mentioned a few things. Actually, we had two interesting options that we thought they will be going with, and it's interesting to see that they finally went with one. And our third idea here might be totally far-fetched, but just hear me out. They might make their entire lineup of tools a unified package so that you can simply access everything at once, just like what we have with Blackmagic Resolve, where Fusion, which is their node-based tool, has been fully incorporated. Instead of having two different tools, these tools are now one unified tool. And we've also seen these in several places. They might be thinking about making one unified package, which you can pay a perpetual license to own everything or own several tiers or subsets of that package. And these might also come in form of subscription, but for whatever it is, until when they make that announcement, we are only just speculating. And today we have a brand new Affinity, and of course we also have a brand new logo. So we mentioned in the previous video that a Twitter user seemed to have cracked the code where he sort of pieced a few things together, which gave us the A, which we have in the brand new logo or identity for Affinity. And alongside the folks at Canva, Affinity is now totally free. Affinity is now one unique app that simply has everything. So if you simply go over to the link in the description, it's going to bring you right here where you're going to find out that we now have Affinity, and it has a big title, Creative Freedom, which aligns with what they actually promised the community when they were bought by Canva. And the whole new products now allow creators to do literally everything in one, as Affinity now comes built in with both a vector, pixel, and layout functionality, offering creators another interesting approach of customizing how they will like the whole tool to be. So if you're thinking about doing vector stuff, you can now fully do vector-based stuff. If you're into stuff like Photoshop, you can definitely dive into the pixel section. And for those that are into InDesign, maybe book production and stuff, you can definitely do all of that in layout. And this now positions Affinity to become the blender of graphic design. As creators, as just like we have with tools like Blender, where you can literally go from modeling to sculpting to rigging, video sequence editing, and also compositing, you can now do most of those things with Affinity, as is a one unique app that now has everything inside. You can go ahead and get Affinity. So once you hit on get Affinity, it brings you right here where it tells you that you can now get this totally for free. So for this, you need to sign up. And once you sign up, it's also going to ask you if you would want, to opt in for newsletters and stuff like that. And of course you can. So once you opt in for that and scroll all the way down, you will notice that you have download for Mac OS or download for Windows. Now, if you click down here, there are various types of Windows architecture, which is currently available. So we've got these ones. So if you're using the brand new ARM, you can simply use that. For Mac OS, we just have one. And because we're using Mac OS, I'm simply going to go ahead and download that. For those who have no idea, this is basically how you install on a Mac. I'm just simply going to drag and drop that right in, and that gets installed pretty quickly and easily. And I'm going to close that and simply open this up. And once this opens up, you need to sign in. So with this simply open, it's also going to ask you if you want to, share data and stuff. Yeah, in this case, we possibly don't want to do that. And we can either watch a tutorial or start creating. And once you pop this open, this is basically what you have. A nice, cool tool that you can now use to do a ton of things. We're going to just go ahead and explore some of the options that are available right here. And just like you have with Photoshop and also most Adobe tools, this now offers an in-app tutorial that you can walk through and learn how to work with stuff. So if you're just getting started with this, it's extremely easy for you to deal with stuff. So first things first, we've got the vector section, and you can see that. I love the new logo. I possibly haven't hammered this a bit, but I love the new logo, and it's pretty nice. I love how simple it is. So we can do vector-based stuff from here. You see we have all the vector tools. So for example, if you like to use the pen tool to do stuff, you do have that. We can actually go ahead and explore all of these. The tools still remain the same. I don't really think that there's anything different. And of course, we also got the pixel section. And this pixel section is like for image manipulations and stuff. Maybe if you're into Photoshoppy things, you can do all of that. You've got all the tools right here. We've also got the form tool, which is also pretty nice. You can see we also have this whole overhanging stuff. So to any of these ones that you select, that is also something that is pretty new that we found out when we tested out the Windows version. It's also available for Mac, you can see that. So here's also something that is pretty nice. So to any of these ones that you select, you would notice that they go in here. So you can either select them from here, or you can easily or quickly select them from there. Now, I would love to see a situation where the same thing gets applied here, or we just totally get rid of this. But for what it's worth, this looks pretty cool. So with this, we now have a whole tool set that we can use to do some image manipulation. Now going down here, if you're very comfortable with Photoshop, you would also notice that we've got some stuff that has to do with layer effects, which are possibly called the blending option from Photoshop. So in Photoshop, you definitely need to right click and then go over to, blending options and all that stuff. Right here, it's a quick button. You've got your mask right there. You've also got your filters, and we've also got the adjustment layers. So basically the same things that you have with the previous one, but just a little bit more polished. That is what you now have with this. Within the layout section, you also have your whole layout thing where you can create pages just like you can do with InDesign, and of course the previous Affinity Publisher, which was a nice cool tool. So you have that. And finally, we have the Canva AI. So within the Canva AI, this is where we can now do some AI stuff. And this actually makes sense because when they were asked about the AI thing, if AI was coming, they were not so upfront with the answers, and that makes a lot of sense. I sort of sensed the idea that AI was definitely going to be coming, and that was why we mentioned in the video that it would be nice to see some useful AIs. Now, for what this can do is something that we have to go ahead and explore a bit more, but some of the things you would notice are image generation. So you can definitely do image generation with this, which is definitely something I think a lot of people would end up doing with this. And they've also got some vector generation. So you can type in stuff and prompt these things and get them going. Now, another thing which is also here with this whole tool is right over here. Once you have that clicked, you can turn on or turn off things. So we can turn this off if we don't want that. And if we don't want to deal with like the whole layout thing or maybe the pixel thing, we can turn all of that off. If we just want to focus on photo editing, we can turn on pixel, retouching, color grading. And, we have that. Let's go ahead and turn that in, and color grading. And so we can go from, pixel to retouching and color grading. This is a well put together user interface. So for anyone that is, thinking about exploring with all of this, you can now do all of this stuff with it. And while we talk about things that you can do with it, I don't think a lot of people also know now, right here, you do have access to some free image websites. So you have access to both Pixabay and Pixels. So if you're trying to find images that you can use, you can definitely come through, search for these images and use them in your design, which is pretty nice. And, for what it is, Affinity is looking really cool. And I'm super excited to see this right here. For the iPad, it's been said that it's going to be coming pretty soon. And I think that it's also going to be the same thing that we have with this one. So we also mentioned that the iPad version was free, and a lot of you guys said it was just for 7 days and all that. But essentially, this is going to become free later down the line. Scrolling all the way down, there's a few facts which are here, which has to do with, things that you might need to know. So yes, Affinity is totally free. You can literally do anything you want. And like we mentioned previously, there is a premium section that deals with a plan, and we said that earlier. And of course, we also mentioned that this whole subscription thing might be coming because there was no way that Canva would actually offer a perpetual license to this. And the reason is because there's definitely going to be some powerful AI tools that will be with this. So do you need an account to use this? Yes, of course you do need an account to use this. And do you need, Canva Pro? No, you don't need a Canva Pro. You can simply use this totally for free. So you can jump into the subscription if this is something you want. So for example, you want to take advantage of the AIs, yeah, you can. What is new? This is a brand new product, like we mentioned, and so it's definitely going to be coming with all of that stuff. And the cool thing is you also have access to using any of the file formats that you have. So there's a lot of frequently asked questions right here. For those using Apple Silicon, like, the computer we're currently using with this, yes, this has been optimized for that. And you can also open up previous Affinity versions inside this one. There is no difference with what you've got with, Mac and Windows, and you can install this on multiple devices. There is no cap for, you have floating licensing on all of that cap. You don't have that. So you can simply just go ahead and install as many copies as you want and use it across. That is really nice. Can you import Adobe files? Yes, this simply supports PSD, AI, InDesign files, and DWGs. So you can bring in all of that. And a cool thing is the languages. And for the languages, it supports English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, Chinese, Bahasa Indonesian, and Tukche, with more languages coming pretty soon. So if you just want to get this, you can simply go ahead and start exploring with all of this. Now, for those who live in China, this is currently not available due to regional regulations, but I think this will be fixed later down the line. So all of these are being answered within the frequently asked questions. So this is it. For those who like to take a look at this, or possibly you like to explore it, links to this is going to be in the description. Go ahead, grab it, play with it. This is now totally free and available for everyone. And I love the fact that the folks at Canva are keeping up with the promises that they made, and it's quite interesting to see the whole subscription thing, which is now available. I'm also going to link this one in the description, just in case you want to get into the whole pro feature with Canva AI and all that stuff. So if you're just into straight on design and you don't want anything to do with AI, of course, this is now available. You can use it totally for free. But again, if you want to do some AI stuff, then you can simply go ahead and do all of that, as this also offers that to creators, which makes absolute sense. Tell me what you guys think about this one in the comment section. And of course, if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.